Hello. For today's tutorial, I'm going to show you the step-by-step process on how to submit the BIR Form 2551Q, which is also known as the Quarterly Percentage Tax Return Form. This is one of the documents which I process and submit to BIR on a quarterly basis. Same with the BIR Form 1701Q. But for today, I will show you the steps on how to process the one which is specifically for quarter 4 because today is already January. Therefore, I will need to submit this form to cover my taxable income for the fourth quarter of last year because the deadline is fast approaching. Actually, the process for BIR Form 2551Q for quarter 1 up to quarter 4 are pretty much the same, except for some minor tweaks specific to that quarter, as well as the months of the year that are covered. Because for Q1, we cover the taxable income for the months of January, February, and March. And then for Q2, we cover the taxable income for April, May, and June. For Q3, we cover the taxable income for July, August, and September. And then finally for Q4, we cover the taxable income for October, November, and December. And for this tutorial, I will show you how to process and submit the BIR Form 2551Q for quarter 4, covering the taxable income for the months of October, November, and December of the previous year. By the way, the deadline for submitting and paying the tax dues for your BIR Form 2551Q is every 25th of the month, following the last month of the quarter you are submitting it for. So just an example, the last month for quarter 4 is December, right? Therefore, the deadline for that is January 25th. I hope that makes sense. Anyway, so let's begin with the tutorial. I'm now sharing here the homepage of the EBIR Forms app. And in case you haven't downloaded it, you can check out my previous video, which shows you the step-by-step process on how to download a form and fill out the profile page for the very first time. I will leave the link in the description. For the purpose of this tutorial, I'm going to use a dummy profile to protect the confidentiality of my own account. The first information that you need to type in is your tax identification number or TIN. So let me put here my dummy TIN. There you go. And the next is the RDO code. So since this is not my first time to use this app or this form, the rest of my details would automatically populate because the system already has a record of my details. Otherwise, you would need to type in all the details manually. So as you can see here, I already have the line of business, the taxpayer's name, the registered address, the zip code, telephone number, and the email address. But if it's going to be your first time, of course, you have to enter everything manually. So after completing the profile section, you can proceed to the next step, which is selecting the BIR form to be submitted. So you have to go to list of BIR forms, and under that section, click the drop down. Click the drop down so you can select the BIR form. So you have to choose BIR form 2551Q version 2018 because this is the most updated version, not the one on top or the one above that, which is an older version of the form. So make sure that you're selecting this version instead. Okay, click that one and then click fill up. So once this information pops up, you just have to click on OK. This is just letting you know that the background information has been saved in the system. So just click OK. And then once you do that, the page will load because it will take you to the actual BIR form 2551Q, which is the electronic version. Okay, so here's how the form looks like. So we have to go to the first section, which will ask you to choose between calendar and fiscal. So we choose calendar because we go by calendar year. And then as you can see, you would notice that the year ended field, which is section number 2, would auto update to December. So you do not have to change it. All you need to do is just change the year because we are doing it for the previous year, right? 2021. Okay. So next is for the quarter section. So again, since we are paying for or we are submitting for 2551Q for quarter four, we have to choose fourth quarter. And then I will skip sections 4 and 5 because I'm neither submitting an amended return nor including any attachments. So I'm not doing any of those. So I'll skip them. Okay. And then for part 1, this part over here, which is for the background information, once again, the details would be auto-populated based upon the information that you have entered on the previous page. So make sure that everything here is correct. So you have the information or the details from section 6 up to section 11 auto-populated, right? And then for section 12 and 12A, I will not make any change because I'm not availing any tax relief, right? So I'll skip that. Next, for section 13, for here, I will choose graduated income tax rate because that's the income tax rate which I have selected since quarter one. So you have to be consistent. Whichever tax rate you have selected from quarter one, it has to be consistent all throughout the year, all throughout the rest of the quarters. You can actually change that during the first quarter, but once you have already selected a specific tax rate from quarter one, then you have to choose the same all throughout. So in this case, I'm choosing graduated income tax rate. Okay, and then let's proceed to the next part. This is part two. So for part two, which is total tax payable, I will not input any information here for now because I don't have any tax credits and penalties to indicate or to declare. So I will skip this part and I'll just scroll down so I can click next to go to the next page. Click next. Okay, so we will now fill out the details needed for Schedule 1, which is right here. This is for the computation of tax. All right. So under ATC section or alphanumeric tax code, I will click the drop down and then select PT0101. This is because my business registration is categorized as an individual non-VAT type of taxpayer. So in case you're not sure about the tax code or the ATC, you may refer to the table down below over here to see the list of all the ATCs with their corresponding tax rate. So here, you can use this. All right. So next, under the taxable amount field, I will enter here the amount of my taxable income from October to December of the previous year. So let's just indicate a sample amount. So this is not specific or this is not accurate, okay? So let's just say I earned, let's say 50K, 50,000 during that quarter. So once I've entered that, you will notice that the tax due field would automatically compute the amount based on the tax rate, which is 3% of your total taxable income. So you don't have to, you don't have to compute it on your own because this form is doing it, or this form is doing the job for you, which is really, really convenient. All right. So once you're done with that, scroll down so I can click on previews to go back to the first page. Okay, so I'm now back to the first page. And now you will notice that the part two of the form, which is the total tax payable section, has been updated based on the details that I have entered in Schedule 1. Check the amount indicated on Section 24, which is over here, which says total amount payable. That amount is my tax due. which I need to pay electronically via GCash later on. So it says here that my tax due is 1,500 pesos. So that's the amount that I will need to pay later on. I will also show you the steps on how to make the payment via GCash after submitting this form. But for now, we're ready to submit the form, and I will just need to click on Validate. So this pop-up message confirms that you're ready to submit it. Otherwise, it would tell you what needs to be corrected in the form. So in this case, since we're good to go, I'll just click on OK. And then after that, you just have to click Submit Final Copy. So here's the next page that you would encounter once you click Submit Final Copy. This pop-up message would appear. This is just asking you to ensure that you have a stable internet connectivity in order to submit the form successfully. Once you're okay with that, just click OK. And then on this page, you just need to click OK to confirm that you are agreeing with terms of service agreement. Once you clicked OK, the submission process would begin. And once it's done, you would see a pop-up message saying that the form has been submitted successfully. Just click OK. And then this page will appear, which indicates that you may now proceed in paying for your tax dues. You may click the link should you wish to check all the other payment options, but as I said earlier, I will pay my tax dues via GCash. Now I'm going to show you the step-by-step process on how to pay your tax dues using your GCash application. So first of all, log into your GCash, and then from the home page, choose Pay Bills. And then under Categories, click Government. And then of course, under the options, choose BIR. So here's one important thing that you have to keep in mind whenever you're using GCash as your payment method. So GCash normally posts your payment within 3 business days. So meaning it doesn't happen real time, right? So in this case, you have to make sure that you have enough time for the payment to get processed prior to the deadline of your filing and your payment. Because otherwise, you might run into some issues around late payment or penalties or whatsoever. So to avoid that, make sure that you pay ahead of time. Okay? So that's really important. Keep that in mind always. And then under Form Series, choose 2500 because again, we are processing this payment for our BIR Form 2551Q. And then under Form Number, choose 2551Q. Next, under Tax Type, there's only one option, choose PT. And then next is Return Period. So for the return period, so this is actually the last day of the coverage of your return. So in this example, since we're making payment for our 2551Q of quarter 4, we know that quarter 4 actually covers the months of October, November, and December. So the last day would be December 31 of that year, right? So just to give you an example, that's for quarter 4. So let me choose December 31, 2021. That's my return date. But if, for example, you are paying for quarter 1, so we know that quarter 1 covers January, February, and March of that year, right? So in that case, your return period should be March 31 of that year. So I hope you understand that, okay? And then choose or just click OK. And the next is TIN. So for TIN, you just have to enter the 9-digit tax identification number. You don't have to include the 3 zeros in the end. So in this case, since we're using a dummy account, I'm just going to enter 9 zeros here. 9. There you go. But of course, if you're processing for your own payment, you have to indicate your actual TIN. And the next is branch code. It should be 5 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then for the amount, so this is the total, this is the tax amount or the tax due that you have to pay. So earlier, if you would remember, I got 1,500 as my tax dues. So that's based on the computation of 3% of the total taxable income that I had for the fourth quarter of 2021. Well, as an example, okay? But yeah, that's the amount that you have to indicate here. Just in case you forgot, you can always go back to the form and then see for yourself. All right? And then finally, for your email address over here. So I'll just use a dummy email address. And then after that, just click on next. And then GCash will GCash will bring you to the BIR confirmation page, which tells you that you're about to pay that certain amount. And then also, it will give you another chance to go through all the details that you've entered just to check that they're correct. Or if it needs correction, you just have to go back. Just click on back and then you can make those edits. Okay, but once everything is okay here, you're good to go. Just click on confirm. Of course, for this exercise, I'm not going to click confirm because we're just using dummy information. I've already made my payment earlier for the actual payment for my 2551Q quarter 4 filing. But once you've clicked on confirm, GCash will just bring you to another page which will tell you that your payment has been successfully processed. So you have to wait for a few business days for that payment to get posted. Okay? And then after that, GCash will also send you another confirmation, this time via email. So what I do is I print out that email confirmation and then I attach that to the BIR Form 2551Q, which I've also printed out earlier. Apart from the BIR Form 2551Q, let me just add, and apart from the email confirmation that you will get from GCash that you have to print out, there's also another email confirmation that you will receive. And this time it will be coming from BIR. So BIR actually gives you or sends you an email confirmation just to say that your BIR Form 2551Q filing for the fourth quarter has already been received and is being processed by BIR. So what I do is I also print that out. So I have 3 attachments, right? So I have 3 forms or 3 documents, whatever. So number 1, I have the 2551Q printout. I also have the payment confirmation from GCash printout. And then finally, I have the email confirmation from BIR printout. So I filed them all together and then I put them in my clear book just for filing. So in that way, I can, make sure that everything is organized. And then if there's any need for me to search for those documents again, it would be easier for me to do so. Okay, so actually that's it. That's the process, or those are the only steps that I wanted to cover in this video. So I just hope that I was able to give you some helpful information for you to be able to do your filing for the fourth quarter, and especially since the deadline is fast approaching. So that's it. Thank you so much for watching. I just hope that you find this video helpful.